Chapter 10 Tenses. The table given below explains the structure of each tense form in a positive statement, negative statement, and question. Subject. Structure. Past tense, present tense, future tense. I. Simple. I drove. I did not drive. Did I drive? I drive. I do not drive. Am I driving? I will drive. I will not drive. Will I drive? Continuous. I was driving. I was not driving. Was I driving? I am driving. I am not driving. Am I driving? I will be driving. I will not be driving. Will I not be driving? Perfect. I had driven. I had not driven. Had I not driven? I have driven. I have not driven. Have I not driven? I will have driven. I will not have driven. Will I not have driven? Perfect continuous. I had been driving. I had not been driving. Had I not been driving? I have been driving. I have not been driving. Have I not been driving? I will have been driving. I will not have been driving. Will I have been driving? He, she, it, singular. Simple. He drove. He did not drive. He drives. He does not drive. Does he drive? He will drive. He will not drive. Will he drive? Continuous. He was driving. He was not driving. Was he driving? He is driving. He is not driving. Is he driving? He will be driving. He will not be driving. Will he be driving? Perfect. He had driven. He had not driven. Had he driven? He has driven. He has not driven. Has he driven? He will have driven. He will not have driven. Will he have driven? Perfect continuous. He had been driving. He had not been driving. Had he been driving? He will have been driving. He will not have been driving. Will he have been driving? You, they, we, plural. Simple. You drove. You did not drive. Did you drive? You drive. You do not drive. Do you drive? You will drive. You will not drive. Will you drive? Continuous. You were driving. You were not driving. Were you driving? You are driving. You are not driving. Are you driving? You will be driving. You will not be driving. Will you be driving? Perfect. You had driven. You had not driven. Had you driven? You have driven. You have not driven. Have you driven? You will have driven. You will not have driven. Will you have driven? Perfect continuous. You had been driving. You had not been driving. Had you been driving? You have been driving. You have not been driving. Have you been driving? You will have been driving. You will not have been driving. Will you have been driving? Uses of tense. Simple present tense. This tense is used to talk about events that happen often, regularly, or are always true. For example, ships sail in the ocean. A clown makes people laugh in a circus. I spend my holidays at my grandmother's place. Keywords like everyday, generally, often, rarely, usually are used with this tense. Present continuous tense. This tense is used to talk about events that are happening now or at the moment. For example, the driver is going to park the car in the garage. Usage of present continuous tense. That are happening for short duration of time but not continuously. Vikram is away in Boston and he is writing his autobiography. My mother is stitching a dress for me. Raina is working on a project on construction of triangles. All the actions above are not performed continuously but with breaks. Actions that show the intention of being done in the future. We are going to watch a play tonight. The group of tourists is leaving for Agra tomorrow. They are meeting next Friday. However, there are certain situations in which the use of present continuous tense is generally avoided. Verbs of perception like see, smell, hear, taste, feel. Verbs that show belonging like possess, own. Verbs are used to express the state of mind or feelings like feel, think, know, like, hate, believe, imagine. Words like nowadays, now, at the moment, look are often used with this tense. Present perfect tense. This tense is used to describe an event that started in the past at an unspecified time and it might continue in the future too. For example, the government has declared that visitors from 10 more countries will get visa on arrival in India. Meeta has lived in a flat in Park Street for so many years. Lata has sung a record number of songs. Talk about events that have just happened. Examples: the students have written the essays. The chief minister has left for Rome. My sister has completed her education. Words like already, never, ever, and are often used with the present perfect tense. Present perfect continuous tense. This tense is used to talk about events that started sometime in the past and have been continuing till the time of speaking. While using this tense, the duration of the action is stressed upon. The king has been ruling over the country for several years. It has been raining since morning. Tarini has been learning Bharatanatyam since she was 7. Keywords used with this tense could be since, for, etc. Remember, use simple past tense when the time the action was performed is specified or understood. Present perfect tense is used when the time is not important. Simple past tense. This tense is used to describe events that took place in the past. Someone broke into our neighbor's house last night. My friend Ria celebrated her birthday at a local fast food restaurant last Sunday. Events that took place in the past over a period of time. My grandfather went for long walks when he lived in the village. When Farhan arrived in the US, he drove a taxi to earn a living. Keywords used with this tense are words like last year, yesterday, a long time ago, etc. Past continuous tense. This tense is used to talk about events that were going on at a point of time sometime in the past. Suman was sleeping at 3 in the afternoon. Loveleen was writing a letter to her mother at 6 o'clock. An event that took place when another action was going on. The train was moving towards Sonipat when the engineer driver spotted the damaged railway tracks. The teacher was explaining the concept when the bell rang. Past perfect tense. This tense is used when we talk of an action that took place before another action that happened in the past. I had completed my work before my parents returned from office. My friends had started playing football before I reached the park. To talk about events that took place very long time back. His grandparents had lived in Singapore for 20 years before coming to India. Nelson Mandela had lived in jail for several years. Past perfect continuous tense. This tense is used to talk about how long an action was going on in the past. Nobita had been watching TV for an hour when his father arrived home. Priya had been playing the piano for some time before it was time for her to go to bed. Rehan had been making the portrait for a couple of months before it was ready to be sold. Simple future tense. This tense is used to talk about something that is likely to happen in the future. The principal will announce the result on Monday. The library will remain closed for an hour than its usual time on Saturday. The train will leave at 6:30 p.m. Talk about universal truths and to say what will happen in a particular situation. If you pour a teaspoon of salt in a glass of water, it will soon dissolve. If you leave an iron object exposed to air, it will rust. Diseases will spread if water stagnates. If you tease the dog, it will bite. Offer to do something. I will cook dinner tonight. We will take care of the children while you are away. I will stay at home to be with the grandma. Future continuous tense. This tense is used to describe an event that will be in progress at some point of time in the future. At 9 p.m., this is what my family members will be doing. My dad will be watching news on TV. My mom will be attending yoga class. My grandfather will be preparing to go to bed. My grandmother will be praying. My sister will be reading a novel. I will be playing with our pet dog, Pharaoh. Future perfect tense. This tense is used to talk about an action that will be completed at some point of time in the future. By 2025, Tavishi will have completed her education. By the end of next year, I will have learned Spanish. By the end of this month, our exams will have ended. Tejas will have left the country by tomorrow. India will have become a superpower by the end of the next decade. Future perfect continuous tense. This tense is used to talk about the duration of a particular action in the future. By July 2018, Yash will have been undergoing training to become a pilot for 2 years. He will have been playing golf for 3 years by January next year. This cinema hall will have been running in a locality for 5 years by next